Well, we're getting close to 6:30 here, so we'll get going, and, of course, I don't know what the future's gonna hold. The governor's starting to make mandates coming down again, so, encouraging people to go back to the Zoom meetings, so, we'll have to deal with that as we progress here, I guess. Welcome everybody to select board meeting tonight, January 20th, 2022. And the meeting is called to order, and next up is to review and approve minutes of January 6, 2022.
I will make a motion to approve the minutes of January 6, 2022.
Second. All right. Discussion?
Okay, I have a few things. Lynn Palmer was a visitor. She's not on the list of attending.
Okay.
Emma Parkin that attended, spelled her last name wrong. It's P-A-R-K-I-N.
P-A-R-K-I-N.
Yeah, not T.
That's one I had a hard time reading.
Down in the second paragraph after review the budget, it says, now it is open to the public for their questions. These questions need to be to the select board, and it also needs to say that each speaker had 3 minutes.
All right, yeah.
The next section that has a paragraph for Lise Schalberg, where it talks in the second sentence, the town of Groton has 3 elected positions that are town clerk, town treasurer, road commissioner, and equipment operator. Equipment operator is not elected.
All right.
Okay.
And it says a couple sentences about, but this year they're asking for 5.9. It said I don't know who they are, and it was presented 5.9. And it was town treasurer and town clerk that are asking for additional hourly wages. On page 2, the very last sentence has a word, I don't know what it is, H-Z-E. I think it should be he.
Yes, yeah.
And then, then it says grand list had gone up, and it says Dorothy said it had less than 1%. That needs to be crossed out. Dorothy had reviewed these minutes, and that was said later on, so she wants that removed. And this is the third draft, so I don't know what is on the website, but throughout the whole section of meetings, it says Lisa said, and it's most definitely Lise that said.
I changed them.
Okay, well, I don't know what's on the
Well, I'll
website.
send him approved.
So
when
it
I
needs
make
to be
changes.
changed.
Yes, I will.
So the next, on page 3, under Lise Schalberg, again, it says Lisa. Lise Schalberg, it says Lisa. Down at the very bottom, where it says Steve Hart, he most definitely did not say, he said that that Lisa, his wife, he did not say that. He said one elected official didn't take the health insurance for 7 years, saving the town over $200,000 worth savings. The section on page 4 where it says Jim Downey, point of order by Wade Johnson, and Dorothy wants to know why. That needs to be written, the reason why.
I didn't know. I can take
Because
it
it
out.
just says point of order, and nothing said of order. So that needs to be clarified.
It might have just been off subject. It might have just been off subject.
I think that's what it was, because we were drifting from the main topic,
And
and,
getting more into
Yeah,
a comfortable
yeah,
position than
yeah.
the word budget.
Yeah.
Page 5, in the middle above Community Club, it says Zach made a motion to accept the 2022 budget with amendment. Aaron second, motion passed, and it needs to say all 3 voted yes.
Where is that again?
Page 5, above Community Club, says Zach made a motion to accept the 2022 budget with amendment. Aaron second, motion passed, and all three voted yes.
Or it should say unanimous. One,
Sure,
two.
but however, just that it was all three. On page 6, at the top, where it says, I think it says Lisa and Carrie had a conference call. There's not a, we didn't have an in-person conference with NIMRIC. Assistant Assessor section says, the 2021 equalization study was received with the date, with all the rules are included. She does not know what that is in reference to. That's from Dorothy. So that needs to be cleared up.
I'll go back and see.
On fire and fast, the first sentence is unclear. It says, Zach read the letter from Secretary of the Groton Fire Department saying that the fire department is the new fire chief for the year of 2022. So who is the new fire chief?
It should say fire department has voted. Has voted to, what did we say it was? Yeah, has voted Wade Johnson, is what it should say, Wade Johnson Senior, as the new fire chief.
Why get taken so fast?
Anything else?
No, that's what I have.
All right, thank you.
I have one, page 7, health officer. You've got written the goat lady. I don't really think that's appropriate to call her the goat lady.
So sad.
Question.
Pizza.
Yeah.
I think that's what it said, but
I think just a comment when we do make the corrections is we have to stay as, I mean, even though I know some of the
I didn't get exactly.
sometimes some of the language may not be appropriate, but if you don't try to stay within the confines of it, the person that had made that quote could come back and say, that ain't the way I said it. I want it, you know, we have to be really, we have to be clear. I mean, if we want to correct them, we need to explain why we're doing it. I mean, that's where we need to be careful, because some people get really sensitive about how you quote them, and if it's misquoted, you know, then we start getting into trouble again, so. But just kind of a word of caution, basically. Anything else? If nothing, I call a vote. All those in favor of the minutes as printed with corrections signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign. All right, so we'll take care of that. There. Okay, adjustments to the agenda. Anything we want to? Pretty short list tonight, so.
So should Community Club be added to the agendas as it's going to be discussed?
Well, I mean, it should be, because we said at the last meeting we were going to talk about it, however.
You have answers, so it should be listed.
Yeah, I could've-
right? Or-
Well, no, I mean, the answers are that they were supposed to come to the select board meeting to talk about
Oh,
their concerns.
Okay, I could kind of do a little bit, I've been doing between phone calls and everything else, because I remember Zach had said something about trying to reach out to them and get them here. I want to tend to that when we get to a point.
Yep.
There's some good news, bad news type deal. So I'll just leave it as that. So-
Well, I think as part of that, I mean, we did, in the minutes we just approved, we did have community club was supposed to be part of the agenda anyway. So if we just want to add them on and
Yep.
talk about it whenever
Yep.
you feel it
Yeah,
fits
we
within
can
the
just-
agenda.
We can, we'll put it on the list at the bottom at the end of the,
Sure.
what?
After NEK.
Yeah, after NEK, we'll put it on there. I do have some information which is interesting, that has to deal with that whole situation, so hopefully it'll answer some questions. Yeah, we did reach out to them, and it's just like, you know, it's like talking to the wall. I mean, you get more results. So, and Zach knows that.
He never called
He
me.
never called back, other than what he, anyways, I'll explain that later. So anyways, if there's no other adjustments.
Well, Deborah, are you here for the library? Would you like to go first and get out of here, or?
Okay, that's what I want to do, if we get any
I haven't
adjustments.
got anything pressing, so
Okay, I just want to make sure we didn't have any other adjustments, so you came up,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, that's what I just checked.
Yep, so, anything else besides that? And we can get going here, okay?
Move the library up.
Move the library up. So what we'll do is, we'll put it up before the department update, so Deborah, why don't you,
okay. You aren't kidding when you say you move it up.
well, that's the advantage of having that adjustment thing there, so we
Yeah.
can get, you know, people can have to sit around.
So I'm here, I am now the treasurer of the library trustees. Wade Jr. has resigned, so I've taken over his position. You guys probably know that Jody has given her notice, and Alyssa also decided she didn't want to run for another term, so we have a lot going on. But, you know, we're also got a lot of good people out there in the Friends, and I think we'll have, you know, good new people coming in and blah, blah, blah. It's going to be fine. I'm mostly here in regards to Jody's pay. The library trustees gave her the 5.9%, whatever you want to call it, cost of living or whatever. And I think it's the library trustees that are responsible for that. So she didn't actually get the 5.9, she got the 3 that you gave to the rest of the, in her paycheck. She went from 1850 to 1906, which I think figures out to be the 3% cost of living increase that you guys voted for town employees. But it's a little different because the librarian is supposed to be determined her salary by the trustees, and it's in here in a couple of different places, so I just want to get it
No, it's their own entity.
straightened out that she should be at 1959, which would be the 5.9%, because it's supposed to be determined by the library.
Yeah, so, yeah, that's my understanding, that what is voted on by the trustees of the library for her pay is what her pay should be.
Right,
It-
so-
It's completely separate from,
A different entity, their own entity.
yeah, correct. It's completely separate from what is determined for town employee wages.
Right,
Because-
so I just,
Even with the town paying the wages, taxpayers paying the wages? it's not
Correct,
out of the line.
that's the way it's organized with it being a municipal library. So it's still, because of how it's kind of an it's oddity how it's set
It's how
up.
their structure is.
It's the structure under the state regulations.
yeah, I think that's right, and I got it in the policies. I mean, it's just a
Yeah.
thing that seems to need to be reminded
Yeah, yeah,
every
it's-
few years or something like that, if it just comes around, so.
Yep.
I just wanted to get that straightened out, and any questions or anything about what's going on with the library, or?
I'll say it's unfortunate to hear that Jody has decided to leave the library. She's done a lot of really great things in the time she's been the librarian, and I know even through COVID, she's put together some programs at the library that were really fantastic. And you know, it's sad to see her leave that position for sure.
It is, it's, you know, but with, what do they call it, up and running, the timber frame thing.
She, I mean, they,
Yep.
I mean,
She's homeschooling.
It's
Yeah, she's got a
unfortunate.
lot going on. I will
It's
say.
unfortunate for the town to lose Jody, but it's very fortunate for her and her husband that she's able to leave her position.
Yeah, and she's
Exactly.
homeschooling her kids now.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
and I think it wouldn't feel so crisis-y, except because of the Australian ballot. You know, everybody was giving everybody ample time in the library to, figuring town meeting, in March, we'll figure out what's going on, and then because of the Australian ballot thing, it's like, oh my God, people have to decide, and so it felt a little bit more pressure, but.
But librarians not voted.
No, I know, but I mean, I think everybody was thinking, I think Wade Jr. was thinking, and I know Alyssa had, figured it's January, I'm giving ample notice, and, everything. I mean, also, Alyssa has been part of the library, and ended up with a whole library bag in her hand at one point, when a bunch of other librarian trustees all disappeared, so, it's,
Well, it gets to a point where you start getting burned out, and it's just,
yeah.
enough is enough,
I mean, and
Just-
look what you guys have gone through. I mean, parents who have kids, I mean, your family, it's just like enormous. And like you were just saying with Izzy, I mean, I get it, so.
It's ongoing, I mean, we don't.
Us folks who are retired and have managed to hide in our holes, and it's time for us to step up, so we will. Anyway, so that's straightened out and clarified, and
I need a motion to have this changed.
No, it shouldn't have to be a motion. So
Okay.
it should have never been changed in the first place.
Okay, I had it on the wage page, and it said
Oh,
by change.
I must have missed that then. Yeah, no, it should.
Okay, so no motion, all right.
No, yeah, it wasn't part of the amendment to fix that, so it should have, that's our clerical error.
Yeah.
Okay,
just a thing happens every now and then, so. Okay, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, if we sign that paper, that'd have been an error on the select board's part.
okay, I have it, you can initial it.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, it's a weird
Okay,
regulation, but
Yeah.
it's decided.
It's hard because, I mean, even though the town does have, it's that little fluctuation, the town does have input, but they don't, it's kind of like one of them.
It's very similar, to, the cemetery commission,
Yep.
really.
Yeah,
Once you establish a library trustees, then any power the select board had is transferred to them.
yeah. and that-
It's the same, and I mean, the select board still holds the purse strings,
Yeah.
so I mean, there is still.
That's that fine line.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
So,
so when they go ahead and say they have to have interim librarians, because this may take a while, maybe they have to have some trustees, and I know when they were looking to, when Ann left, they had a few months there where we started paying some of the trustees, so is that gonna be under the town, or is that going to be under the
I
library?
think it would, my assumption would be under the library budget.
Still,
Yeah.
so
Under their
anything.
wages.
Correct,
Because
yeah.
if the town is going to pay a librarian's wages, it should be out of the budget line, library wages.
Correct, and again, it's, the way it's set up is weird, but the trustees would vote to set the wages for that person too. So although it's part of that budget line, they determine the wages for the, again, we, the select board, if they decide that the wage increase, that's something that we should probably talk about when we're talking about the budget in general. So although we don't set the wages for the librarian or whoever's covering the library position, we could still say at that point, your budget increase includes this, is that, you're gonna have to, whatever we decide we want them to do with their budget kind of thing.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
all right. All right, we go down to department updates. We got the COVID pay, which was brought up some time ago. I think a couple of meetings ago. Somebody had brought it up. So I kind of get the feeling from the board, I went back and looked through all of the meetings when first COVID come back, and we basically was going by what the state mandates were, and just kind of went that direction. So problem is now that state mandates, they're not there anymore, unless Mr. Scott, the Governor Scott decides to change his mind again. So I don't know, it is an issue, so, somebody had, I can't remember what was about it.
I think in the absence of state specifications, it really falls to us to make a determination as to whether that should happen or not. I think with the way the pandemic has been going, since the start and now, we should still, I think, protect the paid employees of the town. So if there's I think the specifications that we had set in place previously, I think should still stand, but, I guess the question is when we voted for those, for the, you know, what we said we were gonna do for COVID pay, if somebody was out sick or otherwise, you know, was that for the budget year? Was that from this point forward until we vote otherwise? You know, those are the things I'm not sure about.
Yeah, and I would think probably the best thing to do is do a budget year.
Yep.
And then, you know, God forbid this drags on forever, but
Yep.
then we're not holding future select board's feet to the fire.
Yep. Yeah,
You know.
I concur. I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Concern I got because hindsight 2020, we've been through a lot already. And of course, there's no, I guess the stimulus is all said and done with, been done with for a long time. I guess my concern is how does this operate? Because now that everybody's doing virtual employment now where they didn't before, and that was one of the reasons for the reason for the pay thing, is because they couldn't go to work. And now most, especially the business end of it, the ones that run the offices are still, they can still earn a paycheck even though, and I don't know, I'd have to check with the businesses because I don't know if a person, as long as they're able to work, they're getting a paycheck until they get COVID. I don't know how the businesses take care of that, you know.
It's, in my estimation, it's left to the business to make that decision.
No, I just wondered how they deal with it, you know, because, you know, if a person is working,
Well, I guess, you know, the question should be to you know, the folks that are here, the employees of the town.
And the librarian, she was closed.
Yeah, and the librarian is, you know, can you do your work from home?
No.
Then
I can't.
that tells me, I mean, if we, you know, if there's COVID, if somebody's out because they're sick with COVID or have a family member with COVID and can't come to work or have to quarantine or, you know, and they're not able to do their work because of that, you know, does it, you know, what then do we do? You know, and I think the real question is it, you know, do you use, you know, personal time, or is it, you know, something we pay as if it were worked, right? I mean, that's what it really comes down to.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it affected everybody. It affected highway, and it affected town clerk, affected the library.
Right. My question to all this, I don't have a problem using sick time. Vacation time, whatever time I have to use to do it. The problem I have is I work Sunday. I got some time sheets here. I'm going to pass out.
can we get to when you do your department?
Well, it's,
It's about COVID.
That might be.
I think it's related.
Kind of ties in.
Oh, okay, I just don't want to,
Well, I just want to make sure that, you know, if we get COVID pay, that it goes towards our 40 hours.
Oh, okay, I see where you're coming, yeah.
You know, so it all ties together.
Yeah,
To,
Yeah,
you know, because, I mean, I've lost a lot of overtime already this year.
yeah. I think what you're saying is if you work Sunday, but you're out on Wednesday because of COVID, and or because of, you know, you
Right.
have a COVID issue at home or whatever, you know, if you're using your earned time, that doesn't count towards your 40 hours of
Right,
work.
so I lose my overtime.
So you lose your overtime. Yeah. I'm not, well,
And that's a whole policy change.
what's the,
Well, that would just be, so not
question
your
is-
regular sick time, just if it relates to COVID, then it would push your hours into overtime. But if you're just out for a sick day or for whatever, 5 years from now or 2 months from now, you have a dentist appointment, nothing related to COVID, then that stays with the regular policy. If it's related to COVID, then you're saying COVID pay is not sick pay, it's worked pay. And then it
Yes.
would move
That's
your,
what it
constitutes work.
stuff to
Okay.
overtime.
is that what we had voted on as the policy previously, correct?
The policy is holiday pay moves to overtime, but not sick time. Sick time doesn't move your hours to overtime.
No, I get that. No, I'm just saying, what was our COVID pay policy previously?
It just said regular.
It was really,
Just
it didn't
regular,
pertain
it was
to,
basic, right? It was,
Yeah.
if you're out for a COVID-related thing, it's a regular pay,
Yeah,
paid day,
yeah,
as if you were working.
yes.
Yeah, which means that if that's the case, then overtime would apply. Now, what is our overtime policy? Not that I don't remember, but I've read multiple overtime policies recently that were not related to the town, and I'm gonna confuse myself, but.
You're gonna give them a better deal than what they got, is what
I think Harold has it
Oh,
right.
yeah. Well, I don't wanna get myself in trouble by giving them a better. Because is it, you have to work 40 hours and then overtime applies?
Yeah.
Right,
So if you work 40 hours,
40 hours, and you get time and a half.
Let's see, what happens is if they work overtime, because they get paid overtime after 40,
yep,
okay? So if they have to work overtime and they have, one day they get sick, they lose the overtime until.
well, no, I get that, but you know, for some reason, I'm recollecting that the overtime policy applies to work outside of the normal shift hours. So if it's not 6 to 2:30, if they come in early, it would be considered overtime. But if that's not, that's why I'm recalling
that's
not correctly,
It's
so.
not like that.
That's
They
not
don't-
how it's set
They
up.
don't,
Yeah,
It's 40 hours.
they don't, the only way the only way that would work if they was to get overtime, let's say they come in at 6, and I'll use my job, because that's where the job I work on, that's where they operate. If we come in anytime before 6 o'clock, it's considered overtime. Or if it's after 3:30, it's considered overtime. You don't lose it. If I had to leave, if I come in at 5 o'clock on one day and I got 2 hours overtime and I leave at noon, it doesn't affect my overtime. I keep my overtime. I just lose my,
yeah, because
my regular time.
it's time worked outside of your
Yeah.
normally scheduled hours.
And that's the reason why we don't have sick time, is because of that reason. Because if we was gonna get paid sick time, we'd lose it. Basically, because you can't use sick time as anything to push your overtime, equally over, something to that effect. So that's why we would lose our overtime ability where we work, so. I think I got that right, I'm not quite certain, I know that's how it works in our plant, but,
I don't think that's how it's set up here.
No,
I think
I'm just
it needs to
saying.
be reviewed.
yeah, but they worked on anything after 40 hours, they get overtime.
Yeah, that's just, my recollection's not correct, and I don't
Yeah.
have the policies in front of me, so. Yeah, I mean, that's the overtime and compensation, time off. Excess 40 hours, 6 time of vacation does not count as hours worked. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so page 12, did you get that? Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so I think, you know, the big thing is that we need to have, for COVID pay purposes, it needs to be, COVID pay should be considered, you know, work time. Especially, you know, if we're, with the quarantine, I wouldn't even, I guess they're recommendations at this point. You know, if you're required to be out for a COVID test, it's, you know, till you get a positive test result, or, you know, if you're, now I think if you're ill with COVID, if you test positive with COVID, it's 5 days. And then you can return with a mask for the additional 5 days and onward. So that's kind of where it's, you know, if somebody goes out for a test and they, you know, Monday, Tuesday, they're out for a test, but they, you know, these guys especially, if they're working Sunday to plow,
Yeah.
you know, it affects the fact that they came in on the weekend. Do we have shift differentials other than overtime?
Huh?
Is there like a weekend differential?
Let's make this simpler, not harder.
So, can I speak to that?
Yes, sir.
The differential is, if there is one, But if we happen to be sick during the week after we work the overtime on the weekend, we're being cheated out of our overtime for being sick. That's how it works. It's hour to hour. You lose, if you work 2 hours on the weekend, and that would have been overtime, and you end up being sick 2 hours during the week, you will lose your overtime.
Correct.
And that's just, and that's, me is wrong.
Unfortunately, that's the way the world works these days, I'll say. I mean, I don't think I've heard of a business other than following the different way that doesn't have sick time. I mean, that's where I'm at too. I mean, if my employees work an extra day on a weekend and they call out sick for a day, you know, they lose the differential. You know, they still get paid out their time, but they just don't get that extra, 50% overtime differential. So, I mean, again, in order we'd have to change the whole policy that, which isn't necessarily not doable or doable.
Yeah, we do policy reviews in April, May, I think.
Usually.
Yeah.
I mean, I think this does need to be looked at. I mean, it is very confusing and there's two sides to every way you do it.
What I'd say is right now, when it comes to overtime and, comp time and the policies, that we should review that, when it's appropriate in May. However, for COVID pay, that's a different matter. And I think it really should be treated separate from the normal pay policies, so. Yeah, so I guess I can make a motion, and I'll move to have any day related to COVID for an employee, whether it be quarantine or family COVID, that day away from work would be counted as a work day for the rest of the fiscal year.
I'll second that motion.
Any discussion?
One of my big reasons behind this is I don't want anybody to have to judge going to work versus keeping the workplace safe. I mean, I don't want them to go, well, geez, I've got a mortgage to pay. I've been out 3 days already. I feel fine, even though it says I have to do 5 days before I come back. I don't want anybody, and personally, I got COVID and was not treated well. And I don't want anybody else to have that. So the town will look out for you. COVID's out of our control. Izzy is safe, Harold is safe, but crap like that happens. A little tummy ache, and it's like, it's.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I think it's a lot of businesses, even who try to take care of folks when it comes to COVID, are not necessarily, they're not necessarily taking care of that person's family the way they should, And so many people are close to losing their job because they had to leave the workplace because the school sent their kid home for a tummy ache and had to get them tested after to be out of school for 2 days. I mean, I've been there, and thankfully my wife doesn't work, or
She doesn't have a paid job, is what you should say.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, she doesn't have a paid job.
My opinion is not a popular one, because my concern, I guess I'm looking at the outside of the box here. My concern is, what do we tell the taxpayers? We've got people out here in Groton that have lost their jobs because of COVID, but still have to pay their taxes. So, I mean, my concern is, how do you explain that to them? I mean,
No,
it's their taxes, because they're still paying their tax dollars to pay wages. I mean, I'm kind of concerned, because if somebody comes up to me and asks me, so, well, what was you guys thinking? What do you tell them?
No, we're doing the right thing by our employees.
Okay.
And, to be honest, we don't have control over what their business or what their employer did to them.
I'm talking about the worker. I'm not talking about.
I'm talking about the worker too. I'm talking about the fact that there are employers that do not treat their people with respect, dignity, or take care of their employees or their families the way they should, and it's wrong.
it
Yeah, he
is.
doesn't get
Okay,
paid.
it's not.
But we should do the right
Doesn't
thing.
get paid.
The thing is we should do the right thing, because that sets an example.
Well, I mean, my.
And that takes care of our employees the way they
I know,
should be.
I know it, but explain it to the taxpayer though. Explain it to him when his tax bill comes in, he has to pay his taxes and he don't have a job. And he loses his home because it goes up for a tax sale.
If he doesn't have a job, he's not gonna pay his taxes anyways.
And he's gonna lose his home.
Yeah.
So what do you tell him?
Why is that? How is paying these guys COVID pay?
Because it's coming out of the taxpayer's dollars, Aaron.
I understand that.
Well, it's coming out of the taxpayers' dollars either way.
Well, all right,
But
so
if it's-
are you gonna give the taxpayer a break on their taxes if they've had COVID?
Okay.
Huh?
Okay.
Well, and that's part of our process. When somebody can't pay their taxes, they have the ability to explain that, and they can go before, the Board of Civil Authority, and they can talk about why their taxes are delinquent, and we have worked with people with their taxes to make sure that they get paid properly. But what I'll say too is I empathize with people that lose their job because of COVID. I've been put as a manager at an organization, and frankly, part of the reason why I left an organization, because I was put in a position where making sure that the job got done came over taking care of your employees. And I will tell you that it's wrong. We should set the example to take care of our employees no matter what. It needs to be that way. I'd say that there are policies and procedures and regulations in the state that, somebody maybe they need to challenge their employer over that stuff. But, I'd also say that there's no shortage of jobs around either. And I can't say that, as much as I'll sympathize with somebody for losing their job over COVID issues, there are lots of jobs out there. We've got a surplus of jobs and not enough people to work them. So that's, that's kind of both sides of it for me.
I mean, I guess also a point should be made is we're paying it out of the wages already. We're not taking extra money.
Right.
Yes.
It's coming out of the budget line for the
Yeah,
wages.
I mean, we could go around with this.
Well, but I mean, again, if Harold works or Harold's out for a day for COVID, it's the same pay. Either way. Doesn't matter. If he worked at the 8 hours, he's gonna get paid for 8 hours. If he's out for COVID for 8 hours, he's gonna get paid 8 hours. It's the same pay.
Paying town employees for staying home for COVID isn't going to change a budget line.
Nope. That's not gonna affect that at all.
Well, anyways, so that's what it's all about, so. Any other discussion? Hear none, go for a vote. All those, you do want to re-emphasize your motion there again, Zach? So we're clear?
Yeah, the motion is that we're gonna pay, COVID pay as if it were work pay for the fiscal year.
Okay. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, and I'm gonna abstain, so, with that, the motion carries. All right. Continue on to department updates. Infrastructure, anything on the infrastructure?
No, not really. I think the big thing is the funding piece, so I think it's gonna be now up to relying on the vote for town meeting day on that
One of the things,
extra funding.
yeah, just kind of heads up, it's a heads up, but the reason, one of the reasons why the JO was here was based on the drainage thing. That's why he was here.
Oh, really?
That's what he was here for. I said, well, I hate to burst your bubble, but this is not what is happening. But anyways, if you read the paper about it, it didn't really have much in there.
I didn't see the JO article.
Yeah, so that's what he was here for. Because I asked him, I said, what brought you to this neck of the woods? He said,
What about the right of way on Mill Street? Did you happen to reach out to
I haven't
Nate
had
to
a chance
see?
to. I'll try to reach out to him.
Because Wasn't he supposed to?
What he had told me, what my understanding of it in November when I met with him was, his surveyor was supposed to give him a letter that explained whether we needed to do right-of-ways or if it was within the town right-of-way, and he was gonna send that to us when he got it. But I'll try to remember to follow up with.
So we're pretty well still on just continuing on with the infrastructure till we get more information.
Yeah, I think, based on where we are with funding the project, and we have, we have the ARPA funds for the majority of it, but we did put, we did put in the warning to utilize some of our funds fund balance funds to fund the other part of that project unless we get a grant that doesn't seem like it's probably gonna happen to come through. So that's where we're at. I think my thought on next steps is once it's approved by the town on town meeting day, is that we would then put it out to bid and move the process forward from there, and figure out the next steps.
They did just come out with the finals rules on ARPA funding, and they did change there was a spot in there where you could use lost revenue. The towns had a formula to figure out your lost revenue from 20 all the way up through to 24. You could take a crazy calculation, and they changed that and now are opening it up to each town can just use a flat standard figure of $10 million. But obviously just up to what you've been approved, your town is getting. So now basically that whole amount we're getting, town can use for anything like related to town. So that, they just had a big alert about
$10 million.
about the towns slowing down and thinking about it and saying how they just changed that whole thing.
Yeah.
And how big it'll be for, obviously, the whole state of Vermont, who,
Yeah.
not one town, I think, getting $10 million. So, but it still would fall under the stormwater
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah, I'm just, it's interesting. I know we're still waiting to hear back from the Leahy grant, but it's just interesting that's, because I think the infrastructure bill went through a while ago. I mean, so.
Back in December.
Yeah. So I'm not sure why.
Well, they said February, so
Yeah.
we'll give it a few more
Pretty
weeks.
soon.
We're close, yeah.
Close. I'll email him February 1.
The good news is February is before March,
Yeah, right.
and March 1st, I'm hoping that it doesn't matter at that point, but, anyway.
All right. Highway.
So obviously, we're not gonna change any policies tonight. So I'll erase that off my list. Our equipment's been taking it a little rough lately. We've been working hard. We've had some breakdowns this past week. We've got everything back up and running. On a propose, the end of last year, I brought in some quotes from John Deere for a loader. I'd really like to move forward on that, put out for bids on that. Get that replaced
Before the story really gets serious.
yeah.
How much have you got in your equipment on hand, right off the top of
I
your
think
head?
there's 170 something in there right now,
Ballpark for a loader?
about 170.
Any value in trade-in?
He estimated about 24,000.
If you get another John Deere, make sure they send you 2 keys with it.
Yeah. From what I've heard, the guy from CAT won't even deal with me, so.
Really?
He has his customers that he'll work with, and the other ones he won't even call back,
So
so.
John Deere can have the rest, huh?
Well, my John Deere salesman's moving on,
Oh, okay.
so The guy that actually, the salesman that we bought the excavator from,
Yeah.
is gonna take back over this area for a while.
Alright.
So,
Somebody you know anyways.
yeah, the guy I've been dealing with, he's actually moving to the ag and turf side of United.
Yeah, okay.
So, but I guess I need permission to move forward with that.
I'm all right with you seeking bids for prices for a new loader.
Yeah, well, I concur. We should start that process.
Okay. How will that work if we're going remote Zoom meetings?
Either the bids come in and they go to the select board chair to open, or somebody will have to open. I don't know if it would be, I mean, it could be you too, I suppose. But it would be the select board approving it, so it'd probably be more appropriate to have a board member open it.
Okay. Yes, that's all I got.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Harold.
Treasurer.
Okay. Here are some updated budgets, how we ended last year and 2022. Here's the COVID sick time that you should sign. I updated what words that you were saying, and feel free to change it. And then cemetery contract, Chris came in and signed. So I need you guys to sign off on it. What's his name? His two first names, Chris Bruce. Yeah, seems like a nice guy, so I hadn't met him. And just wanted to give you an update about the internet this week. It's been choppy Monday and partially shut down on Tuesday. No internet on Wednesday. We couldn't print until last night. Made this really tough as the town report had to be into the printer today at 5. We had to have Spectrum come and do a service call, and he replaced the modem. And then we called Gary because our Wi-Fi modem died, and that controlled the hotspot and everything else in our printers. So Gary left work early, went and bought a new Wi-Fi modem. Got here, took him a while to get it all installed, a new IP address, and all that had to be configured. It was, you know, unbelievable. But we got the report to the printers at 3 o'clock today, so the schedule will be, the proof will come back to us January 25th, and then we have to review it and send it back the 27th, and then it will be at the post office on February 11th. So then everybody will start receiving soon after that. And I wanted to give a big thank you to Gary. I believe he emailed you all the specifics of what he did. I can read it at IT time if you want, just so it's in the minutes. But, you know, him leaving work early from Burlington and going to the Best Buy and then getting it here and working until 8 o'clock last night, it was really above and beyond. And we were pressed for time. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the wages that were updated. I got an email from the Select Board Secretary saying that her stipend is to be changed. And I didn't understand that. I thought the stipends were not changed. She gets a stipend per meeting. She got the bump for her hourly wage when she does administrative hourly work, like emails and letters and filing or whatever. But her meeting is not per hour, it's a stipend. because the meetings are 3 to 4 hours and she just gets one pay, $85 or whatever.
It's 80.
80.
Yeah, 80.
So she is emailing me wanting to know, or saying that this should be changed to the 100.
Because it was passed on 12/16 that I get 100.
So it was in the budget as an improvement to 100 per meeting as a stipend.
On 12.
As a stipend.
Yeah, that's what it was. It was changed to 100 per meeting, I think, if I remember correctly.
It was
On budget
requested at
too.
the same time that everybody else's request came in. So I didn't think the stipends got approved at the meeting. Only hourly.
No, I mean,
Got it.
that was
But it
one of the
got
ones that was
passed.
improved to $100.
It was presented at the November meeting.
It was presented at the November budget.
Right, and it didn't, none of that stuff, according to,
But it passed on 12/16 when you voted on the budget.
I don't remember, wait, I looked through my budget stuff. I know you presented that towards the end of it. Do you remember if you passed something out or?
The only thing is that the assumption,
Yeah.
okay, that whatever was the stipends were at, I was assuming if anybody had bumped up their stipends because the select board was asked if they wanted theirs bumped up, and of course we refused.
Yeah.
And other people, with the secretary wanted hers up. So I was assuming when that was all approved, that was the way that was approved. The amendment came basically on the hourly wages, it had nothing to do with the stipends, because that's what we wanted to make, that was the discussion we had this was the last meeting we had, so. But I don't think because of that anything would get canceled out if it was, I guess that's what I'm having.
Yeah, my understanding was that we amended the budget specifically for wages, and that the stipends that were recommended increases for the stipends, which was, I think there was a couple stipends that we had talked about increasing.
Needed to be increased, but I don't think we.
nobody.
Not at the, previously.
Mine's called a meeting.
But I was under the impression that when we talked about the budget changes, that 100 per meeting was gonna stay where it was at. It wasn't going to be changed or adjusted as part of the budget motion that we made last meeting. So as far as I know, it should still be 100 per meeting stipend. That's my understanding of it anyway. Because I don't think we,
So then the budget will have to change again.
And it's printed wrong for the town report. And we all signed this one that says 80. And I think the minutes say hourly wages went to
That was the
3.
amendment to the budget. That was just strictly to the amendment to the budget. It was for the hourly wages. Had nothing to do with the stipends.
Right, stipends didn't
I
get
mean,
approved.
So in other words, so because of the hourly wages got changed, that means it wiped out any raise, anything that was bumped up with the stipends. I don't recall that ever being in there. But you board members I have to recuse myself because it's conflict of interest, so. And both you gentlemen will have to make a decision.
If we told Deb, like I said, I looked through my budget paperwork and I couldn't find it. I know it was a discussion that you had brought up, you presented it towards the end. Yeah, if we told her that we were gonna increase that stipend, then we should. And I think the point Zach and Wade are both making too was that 5.9 to 3 was wages.
yeah.
Wasn't
And
everything.
that was the hourly. That
Yeah,
2.9
that was
the
just
hourly
for
wage.
wages.
That was just for the hourly
Yeah.
wages. Yeah. That's all that amendment was for.
Do you have the two budget sheets, or the wage sheets, the one from November and then the latest one? Andy?
On file somewhere.
No, I mean, they're on file somewhere.
So this is what was approved, or we thought was approved, and then it was amended on January 5th
16
to this.
It's up to them.
I didn't,
Come on. It passed.
no no other stipend
Yeah,
change.
yeah.
Which fits
I'm
Joe.
just looking at the other stipends that we had talked about, but
No,
No, I mean, really the only,
there's no stipends to it.
that was the only one. And we didn't, that wasn't on the wage increase form that we,
Yeah, it was on November 13th.
yeah, was that on there? Was that
Yeah.
adjustment on there?
Yep. I put it, this is what was presented on the 13th, and then I amended it on the 6th. And I thought the meeting said no stipend changing, so I went with that.
But the other stipends weren't changed. Mine was, and it was voted on 12/16. You guys voted
Yeah.
for the budget.
yeah, I think that's where the confusion was.
Yes, it was voted.
The,
There was no
uh,
change.
Townspeople had brought up that
It didn't
stipends
say
hadn't
to vote.
changed,
Yep.
and it had been a while. And we had said that they hadn't gone up, but we had approved the select board secretary's stipend increase.
Because I remember the select board opted not to have theirs raised.
Yeah.
I remember that.
So, I mean, that's obviously an oversight on our part. Because, I mean, we all signed off on the wage worksheet that said that it wasn't gonna change. So,
Oh, just go over budget.
yeah, we'll just have to go over budget on that.
So whatever you gentlemen decide, I can't, like I say, I recuse myself, I can't vote on it, so it's whatever you decide, gentlemen decide, so. So, yeah, I want you to be, I want, just so, because we have a situation where we got a chair of the board, plus his wife is a secretary, it kind of makes it feel odd. I don't want you gentlemen, if you've got a decision you want to make, you make it, okay? It doesn't, we gotta be, it's the professionalism that I'm concerned about. And when we start compromising that, we compromise what the select board's all about. We've got to leave we gotta leave everything, our attitudes and everything's gotta be left at that door. But anyways. Oh, that's, what I got, my spiel.
So, what I'll say is, obviously, if our intent was to increase the stipend for the secretary to $100 a meeting, which I feel is our intent, we obviously, all three overlooked when we signed the wage improvement sheet on the 10th, we all overlooked that adjustment was incorrect. And so I'd say, we need to stick to honoring that $100 a meeting, and we'll just go over budget. And
Okay. I noted it, that it was changed, amended, missed it.
and we'll just go over budget.
Okay.
I don't think it's gonna break the bank, $240.
Hopefully not. If not, I'll just,
No, wait, $480,
if not, if it does end
Take
up
it out.
going over by a lot, we can just shave it off the fire chief's stipend.
There you go.
It'll all go to the same place.
It's all right, take it out, Mike.
There you go.
Anything else from Treasurer?
No, it's just a few emails that were sent from Select Board Secretary when they were sent to the Select Board. They were answered by the Select Board Secretary, not by the Select Board. So the emails were sent to the 3 Select Board members and answered by the Select Board Secretary from personal email. Just
Okay.
want it noted. Thank you.
Hey, Town Clerk.
I'm gonna start with some things that I want to clear up from the last few weeks. It's been going around town and Facebook. So I'm gonna just give a little history and a little factual information. Lisa and I asked to be paid the same rate as the road commissioner. We never mentioned an Equality Act of 2010 or whatever was mentioned. We never mentioned anything about what other towns' rates were. That was never part of our discussion. We stated that we felt the 3 jobs were of equal importance and that the pay rates were equal in 17, 18, and 19. That's all we said. We all had nice discussion. Nothing was negative or hostile or nasty or ultimatums or anything was involved. The paper that you guys were all just talking about right now, that was handed to the select board at the budget meeting, it's the same paper that is handed out every year. It's nothing new, it's nothing different. It states everyone's wages. It authorizes Lisa to know what to pay everybody come January 1st. It's not anyone saying this is what has to be paid. It lists every person, what their wage is, and it lists what the COLA is for the coming year. It's not saying it has to have the COLA. It's just saying what the COLA rate is. It's all there for the select board's information, for the select board to make a decision on. There's always little notes and jotted information down, just like you saw, just barely. So to think that that needed to go to a lawyer and VLCT was not necessary. It was literally a paper for your information to make your decision on. And Lisa was the one who handed the select board the paper, not me. It is pre-done with the rates, so the select board can see it, because just like we know, people don't know off the top of their heads what each person makes. It's more than just the 4 of us right here. It's a whole list of people. The select board secretary was not at this meeting, so her talking to it, spreading it all over Facebook, what happened, and this Equality Act, I don't know where that came from and why it even happened. Talk about professionalism. I think using Facebook was not necessary.
Can I interject a question? Can you prove that it was her that put that out on Facebook?
Yeah.
No. Can you?
Can I mean,
No, I'm just asking a question.
let's go to Facebook. I mean, if that's what, if there's a question about it, let's go to Facebook. I mean,
No, she submitted to it right now to Wade. Wade didn't know that.
Then I put a response on Lisa.
It's all over Facebook, believe me.
That's why personally I don't have to.
And that's why I didn't respond to any of it. So that, for her not even being at the meeting, hasn't been at a budget meeting that I can remember, and then is spilling all this stuff and you weren't even there. On that same day, other departments, like we just talked about, the library came in and requested a 5.9% increase. Fire and Fast in their budget had an increase. And like we just talked, the select board secretary had asked for a 25% increase in her meeting pay. Same thing Lisa and I did. We asked to be paid the same rate as the road commissioner. You could have said no, we could have had discussion and you not agree with it, and Lisa and I would have moved on, come back to work perfectly fine, and moved on with life. And then it got blown up all over town, all over Facebook, making us look terrible and saying things that were incorrect. I know you talked about your concern for the taxpayer, which obviously we understand that, but I didn't hear any concern when the insurance was decided. And Highway requested to stay with Blue Cross Blue Shield. We had all sorts of discussion on it, and you stayed with Blue Cross Blue Shield even though it cost $18,000 more between last year and this year. There was no special meeting, getting the whole town here, stirring the pot all over Facebook about that.
I apologize for doing it. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
We just let her finish first.
Thank you. Another example that was upsetting, not really upsetting, but at that meeting, they're talking about how many hours we work. So we work between 34 and 37 hours. I feel that is still being worthy of being paid at the same rate as the road commissioner. The constable did his part and asked during that meeting to be put up to that wage, perfectly fine.
He didn't put that up there. I brought that up because there was an oversight because he was kind of left out of it as a.
I know, he brought it up.
You brought it up, though.
Yeah, he did.
And that's perfectly fine. That's what we did. We brought it up. You guys all agreed to the constable, which is great. Everyone here at the meeting who's so upset for us to get that wage, perfectly fine that the constable got it. Works 10 or 12 hours. That's fine, perfect. I'm not saying anything. And no one said a peep. Lisa and I asked for that, and the whole town's in an uproar. That was upsetting. Lisa and I love our job. We love the community, our families here, we raise our kids here, we give back to the community whenever we can. And it's very upsetting that nobody came to us and said, hey, what the heck is happening? What are you guys asking for? They all listened to the pot stirring, the Facebook business, and that was the most upsetting out of everything. We are right here every day willing to respond to anything anyone has an issue with. We could state our point. We understand that people are not going to agree that we should be paid the same as the road commissioner, and that's fine for them to feel that way. All we did was present to you guys our feelings, that we feel the jobs are equal importance. We obviously know they're not the same job. We've never mentioned some Equality Act. So I just want to make all that clear. I hope everyone watches this video and knows these are the facts, not what they saw on Facebook, not what they heard through the grapevine.
Appreciate that, Karen.
That's all I have.
You want to stay?
So
No, I think not.
now we're going to try to go on to regular stuff. We have the liquor license from Upper Valley.
We need a motion to approve this, or is it just?
I think you just all have to sign, or 2 out of 3, or whatever anyone decides. They did, the state did pass that no petitions are needed. I reached out to some people who questioned that for the candidates to be put on the ballot. You just needed that form, the consent form that I've received back from some people. I did reach out, Tony is not running for cemetery commissioner.
Okay.
So that might be a spot that we struggle with, having a name on the ballot.
Yep.
I was going to touch on the redistricting that we talked about at BCA.
Saw that. Son of a
I
gun.
couldn't believe it. I clicked on the map to see, and they left us right where we were after all that commotion. I even thought I was clicking the wrong thing,
I
or it
know, I
wasn't
kept looking
updated.
too. Yeah, I did too. No, because it would have worked out well for Groton. So of course the state decided against that. It didn't look like anybody in the area though.
No, I know
Got
it did. I saw down through different spots said new, so
Yeah.
they changed some things, but I guess not around here.
Not around here, everything's just fine.
How would you do it tonight?
And I think that's about it. The info meeting that select board needs to do, that will have to be set up with Zoom, and all that information need to be posted and needs to go into the newspaper. So that's handled, if you remember, like last year as a select board meeting, so it's not part of my responsibility. It's just like a select board meeting, that's just on Zoom.
And it has to be, I think we set a date for that already, right?
Yep, 24th.
20, yeah. And it should be, I think it has to follow open meeting laws, right? So it just has to be warned a certain amount of time ahead of it, or?
Yeah, it has to go in the newspaper, that's the weird thing.
Yeah. Gotcha.
And then post it around. And that is all I have.
Okay, thank you, Gary.
Thank you, Gary.
Thank you, Carrie.
You're welcome.
Assistant Assessor, I know Dorothy's not here. Did she relay any information?
No, she said she's not gonna be at the meeting, so, and she wanted me to do the corrections, so I did the corrections for her.
Thanks.
Fire and Fast, got anything?
I don't.
Fire, everything's quiet right now. I'd probably jinx myself to see it. So we'll just continue on. First constable, I reached out to him to do a welfare check on Gretchen Feeser. Apparently she's got, of course Dan was here, so she's got more goats. So I wanted, and I haven't heard anything back from him. Of course Dan has been in close contact with somebody with COVID, so he's kind of laying low, so. So that's what he kind of relayed to me, so.
Yeah, the best for Dan, that's for sure.
So, and that goes for, nothing was said about the zoning administrator.
He was in the office with a zoning permit. He thought from what he'd been hearing and people contacting him, he thinks it's gonna be very, very busy coming year again.
Construction.
Yeah, he said something about a lot of things, people interested in building or something, so. Okay, health officer, they don't have anything, other than, I had a piece of paper, the governor had signed into this, they did make a change. Governor Scott had signed into law an Act 38, which amends 13 VSA 351. The changes in the state law affects your authority as a town health officer, and then it talks about that as of July 1st, 2021, humane officers authorized to conduct animal cruelty investigations, which the town health officer was always involved in. As of this law has been passed, the town health officer is no longer categorized as a humane officer. So,
Nice.
so that
Took
that
something
just,
off your plate? I didn't think they took things off your plate. I thought they just put more on.
usually that's the way it works.
Yeah, it's weird.
That's kind of the general gist of that whole letter from the governor. So, on that. So,
Repeat the first part of it. Who's supposed to do it now?
it's been the humane officer.
Humane officer.
Yeah, they got whoever they got designated. You know, the designated humane social employees, animal control officers who specialize in that. They had a list of them here somewhere. Such as sheriff, deputy sheriff, constable, police officers, state attorney, state game warden, state police. I guess that's into the list, but. So if anybody's got a contact for.
Should get a state attorney on the phone call.
Yeah, I can see that.
I got an animal complaint.
I can see that happening. So anyways, that's on that.
Does that mean that if there's a concern of animal cruelty or animal neglect, that one of those entities should be contacted for?
Yeah.
Great.
Let's go into this paper.
What's the game warden's phone number?
911.
Well, you're the state police, as far as that goes.
Yeah, well, I mean, I just, it sounds like that may be of benefit to us in that we may have additional answers for animal cruelty and neglect cases that would allow us to not allow situations to go on longer than they need to, which seems to have been our issue as of late with our animal cruelty complaints.
Okay, so anyways, maintenance. Anything on maintenance?
Yeah, well, go ahead, Lisa, I think you had one.
Sorry, the only thing I had to say was on Friday, January 7th, there was water in the basement, water in the supply closet, down the hallway, and in the downstairs bathroom, and in the kitchen area. The cleaning people, we were lucky, were here, and they mopped it all up, did a wonderful job, cleaned it all up.
And I tracked through it after they mopped.
And, you know, Carrie was here as well after she was at the garage, and she sent an email to all of you, and we didn't hear back from you at all on it. I came both Saturday and Sunday to keep checking on it, because
I didn't see
it was, I've never seen water in the basement, and I think there probably has been. Years before me, like if I asked Linda, she probably said there was, but it was definitely like on the wall, coming out from a foundation. So, I mean, I think it's part of our whole drainage problem, and I immediately called Aiken, because when I see water, I think it's a plumber, so I called Aiken. He called me back at home, we talked it all out, and we realized it's not a pipe, it's not a plumber, but and after I was talking to him about it, I realized, no, it's coming from the wall. It has nothing to do with pipes, but I just didn't know what else to do. But I check it every day now during the week, and it's not there. But Dorothy was thinking at that time we had some days where it was warm and cold and warm and cold, and that might have made it come through. So that is just probably another problem with our whole drainage problem, unless any of you know differently. I don't. So.
No, I think it is. I think part of it's, you're right, you unfreeze part of the permafrost above the frost line, and it thaws and freezes, and it's quite possible that could cause it.
Too, Harold, you adjusted the drainage out here at one point after that.
Yeah.
Could have had a pocket of water sitting somewhere that.
Yeah, I did that before that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that pretty much dried up out here, so.
Yeah.
I don't think it had anything to do with that, but.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like it's an indicator that we've got a drainage problem.
Yeah, definitely a drainage problem.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else with maintenance?
Unfortunately, we're not the first select board in this town to know that there's a drainage problem.
Yeah,
Just
that's for
the
certain.
community
Yeah. It won't be the last one either.
No.
All right, IT.
So Gary sent an email to all of you, so you can just put that in the minutes. It's just all the work that he did. And he found a stronger signal router, and he moved it from the boiler room to the kitchen, so, because planning commission was trying to have a meeting the other night and it wasn't working. So, but that was because everything was failing, but Gary's thinking maybe with that out of the boiler room and into the kitchen, it might help with the meetings in the kitchen. So, it's just, what he had to do, and much appreciated.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think we should note that we're very appreciative of him coming in and fixing all that. You know, leaving his regular job early to come get it squared away.
He's headed into a meeting, we got as far as we could, and he was talking to the Spectrum guy, and then he went into a meeting, and then he called when he got out of a meeting, and talked to the Spectrum guy, and then left work early, but they determined what was wrong. I mean, it was a big day.
Yeah, that's a lot.
So it was.
And it's a testament to how essential good internet is these days, and how important it is for our town especially.
I mean, Spectrum said our modem was old, and it's only been like 4 years. And I said, 4 years is old? And he said, yes. He said, wow.
We had to replace our modem today.
Oh, you
Our
did?
internet's been messed up. Our modem was only like 2 months old.
Wow.
Internet's messed up at the house. I wonder if I need to replace my modem.
Yeah.
Could be.
It is wonderful that Gary does that, but it's one of those things that's something that's hanging out over here. Eventually Gary won't do it anymore. And the line budget for doing IT, you're not gonna find somebody that does what Gary does for pennies an hour when it bolt it all down. That's something the town's gonna get hit with sometime.
Well, I think Gary does a lot. It seems like Gary does some of that out of kindness of his heart to the town of Groton, and you know, I think that's saying something.
Yeah, I don't think Gary relies on the $1,000 stipend to pay his mortgage every year. I could be mistaken, but I don't think.
Good assumption, I think.
Yeah.
Anything else on the IT? Planning commission, anything we hear, anything from planning?
Well, they had tried to have a meeting, but it didn't go very well. So they're gonna
Okay.
reschedule,
Yeah.
because half were on Zoom and half were in the kitchen, and they were cut out. And
That didn't work too good.
so nothing was resolved.
Okay. NEK, anything with NEK? Nobody, Mike hasn't said nothing? Okay.
Well, based off the internet issues we had, I don't think they're moving too quick, but.
Okay. Next is the transition of select board. That's something new I kind of threw in.
Were we going to cover community club first, or did you want to do?
It's going to be, this is going to be kind of one shot deal here, so it's kind of probably kind of inclusive. I'll get to that because it all relates somehow.
Yeah, I got
I just want to go through the questions that were brought up last time about some of the things that wanted to be attended to. I reached out to Derek about Woodsville ambulance contract, and I told him I said it would be necessary to try to get that, if they could possibly get that thing to us sooner. But he's got to go through some hoops. He's got to go through the commissioner, and this was a week or two ago, and I'm still waiting for him because he's had COVID, so I guess he's back doing his thing again. So
I do believe so,
yeah, I think he's off his thing. So I'm still waiting to hear from him on that, and as soon as they find out, he finds out, I find out. So again, I mentioned about the contact with the community club, which was kind of a little of nothing, but did find out in the process of, I had to make a call to VLTC because of an issue with the select board. Apparently, meeting with the community club, select board member, I was invited, or I am invited to a community club meeting, don't know when the date is. Being a non-profit organization, I don't know how that operates with a board member, so I wanted to make sure I covered my backside. They said as long as one board member, it's not a problem. But if it's two board members, it has to be open meeting, which I kind of figured that's what they were going to say. The interest my wife had brought up to him also in an email was a question about the bill that they owe with all that money. She says the town is not responsible for that bill. If they want it paid, they have to ask the town as a donation to take care of that.
Like the other people do, like,
So I
it. Yeah, no, it would be,
I don't know.
for them to request for us, the town, to pay for any of their bills, it would have to be done in a select board meeting, in a public meeting that we vote on, whether we do that or not. I'll just say, as of today, this meeting, I know that there have been multiple requests for the community club to come and discuss, and they haven't done that yet, so.
And I don't think, personally, I don't think, I think, anyways, that's,
Well,
I don't want to presume something that isn't, so, that's one thing I don't want to do. I'm going down through my list here.
What about the invoice for renting, paying the town clerk for the use?
That, I think, was that included with that too?
I didn't ask her about that. She said you shouldn't pay any of their.
So I think, considering we have a policy in place and that was voted on, that they should pay for it. And I will say, as a note, that I did express this to Peter Lyon actually, the night before the last meeting, the last meeting's the 6th, right? So the 5th of January, I met with him and, said that if there was a question about paying that, that it needed to be brought to the select board meeting and discussed. And I believe because that's in our policy, it's now, the question is, if they don't pay it, what is the next step? If they obviously are not paying it, but if they actually, outwardly refuse to pay it, what recourse does the town have for that? So that's, we have to, I guess, figure that out.
Yeah, well, I guess according to the lawyer, we're not supposed to pay, it's not up to us. I know what you're saying.
No. Well, I'm not talking about I'm talking about the rental fee to the town, for the building itself.
I don't know how you're gonna get.
Well, and we negotiated a special price.
Yeah.
Because it was like a 3-day ordeal, so.
Correct, yeah.
And thanks to Kingdom Access TV, we can go back and see.
Yeah, exactly.
10-minute discussion on, we had
Zach,
negotiated.
did you say too that they were questioning whether other groups were?
So the conversation that I had, I don't know if we're.
No, go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
The conversation that I had with Peter Lyon was, and again, I pointed him to come to the select board meeting. That needed to be brought from the meeting. I can't decide on that as an individual select board member. that has to be voted on by the select board, is that they felt that there was issues with them paying it because other nonprofit organizations in the town, like the fire department auxiliary, and the fundraiser of the fire department auxiliary, that they weren't paying those fees. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Wade, because I know you're the chief of the fire department, but you guys haven't had a fundraiser event as an auxiliary in the facility. And I did explain to Peter, I think one of the confusing parts is, that the way the fire department's set up, we've got the municipal fire department, we've got the fire department auxiliary. Municipal fire department volunteer fire department is part of the municipal entity. Therefore, if they use the gym for training purposes for the fire department, that's considered a municipal operation and does not constitute needing to pay a rental fee because it's part of the municipality. However, if the fire department decides to have a dinner or a fundraiser for the auxiliary specifically, that would again require.
And I think his issue is because the fire department has used downstairs the kitchen area before.
Previously, yes. But the question is, since we voted on that, I believe that was in August, if I remember correctly. It was well before chicken pie supper, or following the chicken pie supper. There hasn't been a fire department fundraiser event, so I think that kind of answers.
And Buckaroo's has been paying.
So yeah, and the question is when was the last how many events have they had since then?
They meet here once a month.
Yeah, and they're paying rental fee for using the space.
Yeah.
Yep. Is Taekwondo the same?
Yeah.
So, yeah. So yeah. So that's the conversation I had with Peter about, the fee. So if there's a question about it, to come, he needs to bring that to the select board. But
Good luck to that.
Did VLTC have any recommendations? Just other than that, we're not legally bound.
That's about it they're basically generalizing all towns, so
They said they'd have to do like what Little Rivers do and what what they all do. They'd have to ask the town for money. That's the only way
they have to ask for
they can get money.
That's as a donation or something.
Yeah.
So, anyways, kind of good news, bad news, however you want to take it, with them anyways.
You got?
No, go ahead.
No, I just said, what are we going with this now? With the community club?
we're waiting for them to.
Yeah, he wants me to meet with him, but I'm kind of, like I said, it's going to be the same thing with what's taking place with you, it's the same thing what he said to him.
Yeah, I will say that, along with being invited to a community club event, or I would say a meeting of their business meeting, I know that following the chicken pie supper, I think I said it in the select board meeting, that I was willing to attend their meetings to help facilitate, better relations between the community club and the town and the select board. And at this point, I don't think I have not been officially invited to one of their meetings, so.
Anyways, yeah, I've had a couple calls on that. So anyways, the transitional thing, one thing I noticed as being on the board that we've kind of lost sight of is that at the point of when it comes to time, when it goes into the town meeting end of it, if a chairman of the board is not going to be running again, and a lot of times when you come into the next meeting after town meeting, who's running the show? You know what I mean? It's kind of like left hanging out in the wind. So I think it would be appropriate to, at this particular juncture, is that I've got a letter here of just basically stating that as of this meeting tonight, as I'm just stepping down as the chair, and for the sole purpose is to be handing the torch off, so to speak, to whoever the vice chair is, which is Zach. And that way when the meeting comes back after, of course, you're gonna have to run the next, next 3 meetings. So you'll get your feet wet pretty much into it. So by the time you get into March, when they have a whole different, another member on the board, at least you can take charge of it. And of course, you're gonna have to vote again. You're gonna have to determine who the chair of the board is and vice chair and so forth. So that way it looks a little organized that way compared to what it's been in the past year. So that's something I wanted to kind of hand off.
Okay, it's a good idea, Wade.
So I'll give you that and.
I mean, we can vote not to accept that letter too, I think, that.
I mean, this is a kind of good news, bad news part.
So I guess, Wade, I just because I think, well, I'll just say I think it's, I want to make sure that we have it officially recorded that not only are you stepping down, but you're not planning to run again for select board. Is that correct? Yeah, I just, again, want to make, I think it's,
No.
as part of that, make sure it's clear.
Even though I've had people have been, hounding me about, oh, you need to run again. No, I think, my thing is I'm a firm believer in term limits.
Yeah.
And I think that right across the board, even the federal as well as the state, they all need to have, because you need a set of fresh eyes that come on. You can't, I mean, a lot of times you get the same people sitting there and it's just, you end up getting stuck in the mud, so to speak, and that's not healthy for a town. You gotta have some fresh eyes. It isn't that I didn't enjoy it. It's just the idea is, I think it's time for somebody else to be able to, there's all the challenges go with it, and all the fun that goes with it. So, it also, speaking of which, the bad news is the chair gets the town health officer's position.
Yeah, but you don't have to do animal complaints.
Yeah, that's why I kind of.
Wait, you want to sign that so we make sure?
Yeah, okay. Yeah,
That's how I know it's official. You got your signature on it.
I love it.
So, I've got 2 things to say.
Here it comes.
Okay. The first one is a question to the town clerk, so we make sure that it's clear for the minutes. I think it needs to be in there that as Wade is officially stepping down as chair, and that Wade is, has expressed that he will not be running for re-election, that the deadline for anybody to put in their name is, I think, the 24th,
Yeah,
correct?
Monday, the 24th at 5 o'clock.
So
I'll be in the office till 5 o'clock.
Okay, and as
No petition, just the consent form. It's on the website, and there's some out in the entranceway.
okay, and then the other piece is that even if somebody fills out that form, submits it for candidacy, that there is still a write-in.
Always a write-in.
Always
yes.
a write-in. That's
Yeah, I've been threatened with that too, so.
Always a write-in spot.
Yep. So, and then I'll say my second piece, which is I think we are all appreciative, Wade, of your service to the town as chair of the select board and as a select board member over the years. And, not that you're ending your, service to the town, you're still going to be
still the chief, so.
the chief of the fire department is, that we're appreciative of the time that you've put in for being on the select board.
Like I say, I enjoyed it, and even with its challenges, I learned a lot about the law, learned a lot about the town. So again, my heart goes to townspeople, and just kind of bring this up, not just as a thing is that. I'm not looking for any sympathy or anything, but one thing I learned about the select board is that you've got to be, I try to be as honest as I can be. And I'm not out to bash anybody, that's not my position. But I do just ask for a little bit of respect for my decisions and concerns on different issues. Even though we may not agree about it, that's the way I feel, because I feel I'm representing the town. I mean, I know the rest of you are doing the same, but I represent the townspeopeople, and what I think, and let's say the conversations I hear that come from them, and the phone calls, and trying to be compassionate toward that. And that's the way I try to work but even with the work, like I say, I would stand behind any of the town workers 110%. But don't get me wrong, when I feel that something I don't go along with, I'm gonna be honest with you and be upfront because I have my concerns about it. Even though you may think it's wrong, I mean, everybody has their own opinion, but if that's the case, then we ought to be all going to Montpelier and expressing our dissatisfaction with some of the stuff they pull all the time over there. But anyways, enough said. So, but I didn't, like I said, I don't want to leave at the end of my time on a bitter note. So, like I say, if I offended anybody, I apologize for that. That was not my intent to offend anybody by any stretch of the imagination. Try to do my job as well, because I tried to read that select board manual, and I haven't completed it yet. I don't think you're ever going to complete it with all the things that are involved in it. So with that, I'll conclude with that, and we'll continue
Open
on.
meeting is next, I've got.
Huh?
Open to meeting is next.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't say that on there, though.
I've got that.
Oh, okay. Open to the public, open meeting to the public, whatever it is, it's supposed to be there.
Yes.
Any other business?
I just said, I forgot to say it in my section, that I printed a bunch of budgets, so I didn't know how many people were gonna come, so they're handy.
Can I have one?
And there's nobody.
Can I say something?
But,
I'll get you a picture. Okay, the secretary would like to make a statement, however she wants to put it.
I really do. I'm sorry for what I did. I really am. I was going to resign end of February, but I'm going to resign as of tonight.
Thank you for the apology.
And you'll finish up doing this,
I'll
the minutes on
finish
this?
up.
Okay. So just so that's know, we'll make sure that's noted. She will finish up the minutes for this meeting here. And so I'll be to the next board meeting, so I'll make sure that, we'll figure out somehow. But anyways, enough says on that, I guess. Nothing else for open to the public, other business? We set the agenda, like I say, I'll let Zach do it, he's in control now. I'll let him deal with it.
Sure. Under highway, we probably should have, you don't know the bids by then, will you? Probably. Yeah, so
I will have bids by
we'll
next
put
week.
the loader on under highway. I think that it would be prudent for us to put on there that, if with Debbie resigning, that we should probably put on there that we need to consider appointing a new secretary. Community club should be on there.
Again.
And I'll try to follow up to get somebody here to
The best thing
represent.
I heard tonight was the lawyer said the town's not legally responsible for that.
Yeah, well, no, I think.
So, I mean, that doesn't help Pete's out at all.
No, I'm more looking at the rental fee that they were part of that meeting for.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm thinking.
Well, at least it tells you about the liability of it anyways.
Yeah.
At least it gives you a little bit more.
Yep.
But
It was Susan Benning I talked to, too. Susan Benning.
Susan Denny. Yeah, she's, yeah. But that's not a financial responsibility to the town for.
No, that's.
I understand that. But
So no, I mean, that's, I'm just reiterating that.
Yeah, I think we put it on there. I think we should discuss.
No, I mean, it shouldn't be pushed aside.
Well, we
It
should
keep
discuss
it in the open.
how we should respond to Pete and to the community club about it. I mean, saying it in the meeting, putting the minutes is good too, but I think at the same time, it may be worthwhile that we correspond with the community club officially.
Correspond through a lawyer officially?
Maybe. Or we just write a strongly worded letter that comes from the select board.
I think it was tried before. I'm just sorry, but I remember something like that being done before, but anyways.
What's that?
I think we strongly did that before with the,
Letters before.
Yeah. Make much of a difference. I think anything else that we need to have on the agenda?
Zoom info,
Yeah, Zoom info
we should
information.
have that. Be working on getting that squared away, I guess.
Yeah, I guess, and how you want the agenda to look for that meeting?
Yes, can I throw a question out, just to kind of help out a little bit here? I don't know if you're still willing to do put on the agenda so we can post it on the, I
Just
talked
as
about
next
like
time.
earlier, but if you need to have that agenda be posted as it normally has been, she can still do it. Anything you want to have on the agenda, let her know, and I'll continue to post them up until I'm done. So just so kind of give you a little breathing,
Yep.
give Zach a little bit of help there.
Still contact the Johnson residents if you want something on the agenda.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And don't mention my name.
Okay. Are there any orders to sign or any?
No, I didn't do, I had no time.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Just the cemetery contract, and you did that, right?
Did they say Zoom is going to be the next?
And I'll be posting the warning for the town meeting now that it's signed, so that, we had between the 20th and the 30th to do that, so probably do it beginning of next week.
Okay.
Can I make are we having a Zoom meeting, the next meeting will be a Zoom meeting, is that the intent? I mean, she needs to have something written down, so.
Yeah.
Looking that way.
I was just.
Yeah, I was going on that.
The governor's mandates are coming down more and more every day, and I haven't heard, the latest I heard that he's kind of encouraging the towns to
Well,
go
they
back.
changed the rules to open meeting law.
Yeah, they changed the rules to the open meeting law, I
Yeah.
guess, so.
It's already taken.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, I guess we should plan it on being on Zoom.
Depends on it. We're down to 30 cases a day though.
So as the chairman, you have to start looking at your emails.
I'll add it to the list of email addresses I have to check. Yeah.
And phone calls.
Yes. Thank you for the reminder.
It's pretty important.
Yeah. All right,
I will make a motion to close the meeting.
I'll second it.
all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
All right.
All those opposed, same sign. Great, meeting's adjourned.